All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the stream. Welcome if you are new here. Appreciate you guys joining me today. Sorry for the goal being created and then disabled and then created again for the super chats. YouTube, once again, surprise, surprise, is glitching out. And it just wasn't working. Yeah, Leia's in here today. I don't know what's going on. Not gonna lie, I don't know what's going on. She's been sleeping in that spot. No. But yeah, I don't know. Leia, she's just been coming into the room here and sleeping on the cat tower. I think I don't know. She never really did that before, but the past couple days, I know she's been sleeping on it a lot more. So here she is. Now she's here while we're streaming. So I don't know if this is going to be a common occurrence or if it's just a today thing, but Boss is in here too. He is in here. But yeah, I guess she's taken over. Leia's taken over. Ice Queen Gaming, I'm sorry to hear that. I hope you feel better. I see a lot of people mentioning 100K. Yeah, I'm not. So here's the thing. I'm not. At some point soon, we're going to hit 100K. Some people are thinking it might be today. I'm not going to assume it's going to stay there. I'm assuming it's going to keep fluctuating for a little bit of time, but back to 99K, 100K, 99K. I do expect that will be a thing that occurs. But yeah, we are moving up. We are gaining subscribers, which is fantastic to see. And it feels like it's been a long time coming. So yeah, I'm striving for the 101K, you know, or at least like 101.5 or like 100.5K. But yeah, either way, whenever that threshold is crossed, even if it does go back and then it just kind of goes back and forth, I'll still be very proud of that. You know, it's crazy. It's a crazy milestone, no matter which way you slice it. So, yeah, appreciate you guys for real. Saying, damn, you've been so close to 100K when I started watching 5 years ago and now about to hit it. Well, yeah, it is crazy to think. I've been doing YouTube for quite some time, and I mean, I still think back to trying to get the first 100 and first 1,000 subscribers. The first 100 is the most difficult, you know? Like, how am I going to do this? And then when you get to 100, it's like, okay, well, how do I get to 1,000? And then 10,000. And it's been awesome. It's been a pretty awesome journey. And I'm very thankful for it. So yeah, we'll see if it happens today. You know, if you don't see me, listen, again, if we hit 100K and you don't see me like posting about it or anything or talking about it, it's because I'm waiting. All right. I need to wait until it's solidified. Oh yeah, I guess, does YouTube still do that? Do they still send out like plaques for 100,000? That would be awesome to have. That'd be cool. But yeah, appreciate all the kind words, guys. But what we're going to be discussing today, we're going to be talking a lot about Naughty Dog because it feels like Naughty Dog is popping up in the news more and more. And it seems like we have to be getting close, like very close to a new Naughty Dog announcement. We have more official news to go over regarding Naughty Dog today, but also something that came out that was making the rounds where the name of their new IP leaked, or at least everybody thought it did, but now it's being disproven. It's not real. It's not true. It's made up. So we're going to talk all about Naughty Dog today, and what we can expect. We're also going to be talking about some other, well, at least one other thing that leaked out. Maybe like two other things. There's a product that leaked, but on top of the product leak, we also have more information regarding the situation when it comes to Sony and Katakawa. So That's something that we're still kind of waiting to hear about, but we're getting a little bit more insight into what's actually going on behind the scenes between these two companies, and getting some more details. So we'll discuss that as well, and we'll have some other general conversations, I'm sure, throughout the stream. Did I see that 2K is getting rid of their launcher on PC? I think I did briefly scroll past that. Ghetto God are saying MBG they do, but you have to sign up for it. They don't just automatically send them to your house. Really? Okay. I don't know why I guess I didn't think about that, Ghetto God. Interesting. All right, I'll look into that. Is that, you know what, Ghetto God, is that why, because one of the things I noticed before we dive into any of these topics, I remember watching like other YouTubers and they get their 100K plaque, but sometimes it would come like 7 months later or like 8 months after they hit it. Like they're almost on to another milestone and then they finally get it. I always thought, is it just because it takes that long? Or maybe like most people, they find out that, oh, you actually have to sign up for it. They don't just send it to you. That's interesting. Yeah. One of the things I will be appreciative of, honestly, though, not that it makes that big of a difference, and hopefully we stay at 100K when we hit it, but getting the check mark, where it's like, okay, it's official. This is the real MBG, like I'll definitely appreciate that. They have to verify who you are and stuff and make sure it's your channel. I mean, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. I guess I really didn't put much thought into it. If not, they would just be sending so many false plaques out there to people. Irfan, I'll keep that in mind, man. Yeah, I appreciate letting me know. I'll keep that in mind. We'll see. I think we're good for now. But, when things start to heat up going into the Game Awards and stuff, we'll see. So I appreciate that. PlayStation hasn't tweeted anything today. I'm wondering why. Well, we're going to talk about that. Before we do, though, I want to just thank everybody once again, as I usually do, for tuning in. Thank you guys for those of you who are here live. I also want to give a shout out to people who watch the streams later on. I know not everybody can catch them live, so thank you. I want to ask you guys to please take a moment and hit that like button. It's definitely been helping. I mean, listen, YouTube's algorithm has been picking the channel up a little bit more lately, especially with the videos. So, when I tell you that, hitting the like button does help. It sends a signal to YouTube that people are enjoying the channel and the content. I mean it. So if that's the only thing you can do, just hit that like button. Yeah, hit subscribe if you're new as well. Just want to let you guys know a couple of ways you can support the content directly, because we do have new people here seemingly every day. Couple of ways. There are basically 4 ways. Become a channel member, gain access to exclusive perks. We did a members lounge yesterday. It was a good one. It was a short but sweet one. We had some actual new members that were gifted in the members lounge as well, and they seem to enjoy it. So if you are a channel member already, go check that out. If you're not one, consider becoming one. We'll be doing, so here's the thing. Unfortunately, I cannot guarantee a morning with the missus this week. We have a very, very busy week, but I can guarantee we will be doing more with morning with the missus. Okay. It's not going away. It's not being retired or anything like that. It's just a matter of timing and, again, scheduling. So we do still do that on the channel, and we do some member gameplay streams as well, on top of all that. So consider becoming a channel member. Consider gifting memberships. Okay, we're striving for 25 membership gifts today. If we hit 25, we will feed the beast. I don't know. Leia, is she? I guess she's usually not part of that. Like, Leia doesn't usually eat the treats. So I don't know. Maybe you guys will get to see Leia eat some treats today. I don't know. We'll see what happens. The third way is drop a super chat. We're striving for a big goal today. It's okay if we can't hit it, but I want to strive for it anyway. 30 super chats. The reason why I'm striving for 30 is because you guys keep crushing it. Honestly, I feel like I'm making it too easy for a lot of you guys on the channel. I've been setting it to 20 super chats, and you've been blowing right past that. So I figure, okay, let's up the ante a little bit and see what happens there. And there's a direct donation link as well in the chat. So sorry for being so long-winded about that, but I just very much appreciate the support that you guys show the channel. It's awesome to be able to come here and have these conversations with you and talk PlayStation and talk gaming. So thank you guys so much. Did the update go live about only gifting to newer viewers, or was it fake? JMR, I mean, it depends. I don't know. Like, you have to tell me where you got that information from. What I will tell you is I am definitely noticing that people, like, the membership gifts seem to be going to mostly newer viewers or people who have not received memberships. And I've been seeing an influx of people who have gotten a membership gift for the past 12 months. Once their latest membership, the free month ran out, they've been waiting to get another one from a gift, and it hasn't been happening. So, you're saying there's, like, you're mentioning an update. I don't know if that's an official thing that YouTube announced, but that's definitely something that we're noticing. Happy to hear that Morning with the Misses got picked up for another season. Yeah, it's a funny way to put it. You originally heard about it from my channel. Okay. Well, yeah, I don't know. Again, I haven't heard anything like officially from YouTube. I haven't really heard anything outside of just the anecdotal evidence, right, that we're seeing. So yeah, I'm not entirely sure if there's truth to that or not, but either way, we still do have people gifting memberships. And, again, I just, not to sound like a broken record, but I want to encourage anybody, if it's within your means, consider becoming a channel member and dropping the $5 a month to support the content directly, because I'm totally fan funded. I feel like I don't stress this as much as I should, but, we don't do sponsorships here. Like, I keep everything just purely focused on the content and the discussions. And, outside of just regular YouTube ad revenue, I try to avoid that. And so, yeah, if it's within your means, consider becoming a channel member. It definitely helps. All right. So let me start here by saying people are still wondering about the PlayStation event. Is it happening? Is it not happening? Well, we're going to start here with another PlayStation announcement leak. So we just covered news from Bill Kuhn, who is proven to be very reliable. He has some kind of access to a retailer backend situation, or he just is able to figure out when Sony's getting ready to announce stuff, usually product related, on occasion, sometimes with like YouTube trailers and whatnot. But he was saying that there's a lot of movement behind the scenes, and Sony is prepping a bunch of announcements. And one of the announcements, apparently, that we discussed yesterday is a new product lineup for the Black DualSense Edge, the Black Pulse Elite, and the Black Pulse Explorer. But something else he leaked today is a new limited edition DualSense on top of the new product line, this time for Helldivers 2. So Sony's going to be announcing a limited edition Helldivers 2 DualSense that will retail for $85, 85 euros, or 85 or 75 pounds. And this is another product that I guess Sony is kind of, bunching in here with. They're clear, like they're going to be announcing a new product lineup, apparently, in terms of colors and limited edition. And so you think maybe it's just to celebrate the 30th anniversary, or maybe they'll do some merch. I mean, maybe. But I want to point this out as well. I did see some people saying, well, listen, there was no announcement for a showcase or an event. So, like, it hasn't happened yet, so it's probably not going to happen. And I have to kind of, look, I'm not saying this to get people's hopes up and say, listen, don't worry, don't give up hope. I'm not saying hold on to hope. I'm just pointing out a fact. And the fact of the matter is, Sony does not announce state of plays ahead of time anymore. Like, I don't know if people have noticed, but the pattern now is Sony announces state of plays like one day before. Sometimes two, but basically a day before. That's how they do it now. I don't know why they do it that way. I guess it works for them. But they announce it basically 24 hours in advance. Maybe that's in an effort to not overhype people or get people's expectations too high. So yeah, I guess maybe with leaking stuff as well, it could be that. Um, I will say if it was going to be some kind of showcase, let me look at the calendar here. If it was going to be some kind of showcase, yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess today would be the day to announce it. I mean, there's still time. Like, I don't think it's happening. I don't think it's happening. I'm not trying to be like a buzzkill, but I just don't think it's happening. I feel like truthfully, everything that we're hearing about, um, is probably going to show up at the Game Awards. It's tough, man, because it's like the whole thing I'm struggling to grapple with is the idea that Sony would just let this opportunity pass. Like that's the part I can't fathom. You know, that they would just be like, you know what? It's the 30th anniversary. Eh. I mean, it's I guess Sony could do that. And I guess if they did, it's like, oh, okay. But it's just kind of weird where it's like there's all this evidence that people are hanging on to, and it makes a lot of sense. But the Game Awards is right there too, so it's like, the game, it's right there. It's right there, bro. The Game Awards is right there. So, Sony will be at the Game Awards for sure, and so nothing major is leaked out. That's something else that's worth noting. The things that are leaking out are like products, like again, the Helldivers 2 DualSense, which I want to say that sounds awesome. I'm surprised Sony waited this long, but better late than never. A Helldivers DualSense sounds amazing. It makes me wonder if there's going to be some kind of big update for Helldivers 2. Maybe they're going to announce alongside it. Maybe that's why they waited. If it's a state of play, we could get a late announcement on Monday, December 2nd. Very possible, yeah. If there's some kind of like very, very secret state of play that Sony kept close to the chest and they did that so it wouldn't leak out, they could announce it literally the day before on December 2nd. But yeah, that's true too, Irfan. You're saying they can reveal all of this stuff that we just discussed in a 30-second teaser. That's true as well. And that's why I'm saying, like, it seems more like a Game Awards thing. Like, Sony showing up where it's like, here's a 30-second, 45-second trailer. 45 seconds sounds a bit too long, but like a 30-second trailer for a black product lineup of the DualSense Edge, Pulse Explorer, Pulse Elite, and a new Helldivers controller. I mean, we've seen Sony put this type of stuff in state of plays though as well. So the real thing I'm going to be kind of looking out for is if we start to hear about any first party movement, right? Like, there's going to be a new Wolverine gameplay trailer or something, or Naughty Dog's getting ready to announce their game. If we start hearing something like that, I mean, that stuff definitely can happen at the Game Awards. What's the Pulse Explorer? It's the earbuds, the premium earbuds that Sony released last year. The Helldivers DualSense could be good. Yeah. I mean, that's a DualSense I would like to have for sure. I mean, it's kind of funny because like, I really made fun of the fact that Sony did a limited edition DualSense for Concord. I talked about this multiple times. I'm like, what? Like why would you like it? I mean, it's not that there's anything wrong with it by itself, but it's like you do a limited edition DualSense for Concord, which was more expensive than like most other even limited edition controllers we've seen. But like you just do nothing with Helldivers. So I think Sony's kind of getting it a little bit, where they kind of realize like, man, we really had this backwards, like we should have had the limited edition DualSense ready to go for Helldivers and stuff like that, and maybe some plates or something, which would be awesome too. So I'll definitely be keeping an eye out for that one, and that's something I would like to acquire. Is that how much it's going for on eBay now? $350? My God, dude. $350. And it was what, like $85? That's so funny. How much are copies of the game selling for now on eBay, Concord? I know that they went up in price quite a bit. Are they even more expensive now, or does nobody care? 25. You're saying $25? Hold on. Now I gotta look this up. Okay, yeah, that didn't last very long. Yo, somebody's selling a copy of Concord for $2,500. Middle Eastern version. That's why. Okay. That's so weird. Seems like a regular copy of Concord is $50. Yeah, it looks like scalpers may have like bought Concord in bulk when they found out it was going to get delisted, thinking they were going to sell all these copies. And it's like, I do see the DualSense 275, 400. That's crazy. I guess the DualSense is holding much more value than the game itself, which makes sense. Because like if you bought, listen, I don't know who would do this, but if you bought the Concord DualSense, for like $300 off eBay, you could at least use it. You know what I mean? It has utility. If you buy the game, dude, it's a coaster. Like you can't do anything with it. It's just a thing. It's an unusable item. LeBron James had a DualSense. I know we don't talk about that. We try not to talk about that. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of kick off the topics by letting you know that there is a limited edition Helldivers 2 DualSense that's coming up very soon. JMR is very confused. He's like, bro, wait, what are the Pulse Explorer? Wait, there was a LeBron James DualSense? Yes, there actually was. It was cringe. I'm not gonna lie, it was cringe. Yeah, look it up, dude. Just look it up. Just look up LeBron James DualSense. It looks so bad. It looks so bad, dude. Like, to be honest, it looks like a kid like colored on the controller. But I guess Sony was just like, but it's LeBron James, so. They're getting refunds more than sales. Dom to Bomb says the Concord DualSense is actually nice. I mean, yeah, it didn't actually look that bad. Like, I just was looking at pictures of it again, and it's funny because I remember when it was revealed, people were like, man, the DualSense is like better looking than the game. Like, that's awkward. But yeah, the controller itself does look pretty good. They should make an MBG themed DualSense. Yeah, they should. I'd buy that. Diego, I mean, you can do that. You can do that, and I don't know what the response to that would be, but how much was it when it released? If you're talking about the Concord DualSense was, I think, $85, maybe 90. A Boss themed DualSense. Now we're talking. Let's get that Boss themed DualSense going. I'm still I like look back thinking I'm looking at Boss, and it's like, nope, it's just Leia. Leia's sleeping. She's like knocked out, dude. All right. We are going to move on to the next topic, though. I don't want to spend too much time talking about this Helldivers 2 DualSense, but the question I'll ask you guys before we move on to the next topic is, are you interested in this Helldivers 2 DualSense? We don't know what it looks like, but does it sound like something you would want to purchase and add to your DualSense collection? Stalker 2 is so bad and no amount of patches can make it better. Really? I don't know, man. Is that true? I don't know. I haven't been paying too much attention to the Stalker 2 conversation these days. I mean, I was like paying a little bit of attention to it. you know, when it first came out, but black DualSense Edge all the way. JMR is saying, I just came back from researching this damn controller. It looks like a toddler got given some crowns unsupervised. Bro, Sony was like, ship it. Only the Astra one was worth it. Sony has secured the marketing rights to GTA 6 Time to Suffer. See, that's interesting. Scuba Tank says Stalker 2 is one of my Game of the Year contenders, honestly. What can PlayStation show at the Game Awards to blow us out of the water? I mean, I feel like there's a few things they could show if they want to make a big splash. They could show Santa Monica's new IP. They could show Naughty Dog's, I don't know why I said it like that, Naughty Dog's new game. Maybe Blue Point's title could show up. They could show Sony Ben's game. Piper, you're saying Stalker 2 is amazing. People need to stop the hate. I mean, I'll be honest, Piper, I've been hearing good things about Stalker 2. I've seen some ire over the game, mainly due to its performance struggles and some of the, like, some things that definitely need to be fixed and patched. But I've been seeing much more good than bad. I have been seeing some, disingenuous stuff online from certain groups of people, like, because it's a Xbox console exclusive, they're trying to make it sound way worse than it is, which I think is unfair. I don't like to see people do that for PlayStation console exclusives just because it's a console exclusive, and I don't like to see it. We got to judge these games just on their own merits. But yeah, I don't know. It does seem like Stalker 2, it is a game that could have benefited from, and this is just, again, my observation from what I've seen people saying. It seems like it's a game that could have benefited from, like, maybe another delay for like 3 months or something. But I mean, they got to reach a point where how many more times can you delay the game? They're probably running out of budget. So I'm just curious to see if it does end up making its way to PS5, and if it could end up being PS5 Pro enhanced potentially. I mean, it might not. It might never come to PlayStation, but there was that document that leaked that said it was like a 3-month exclusive. But I tried to warn people that may be out of date. Even if it is a 3-month exclusive, they might not have a PS5 version ready to go. So we'll see what happens. Stalker 1 does run well on PS5. The Stalker ports are actually better than the buggy PC versions. You need mods to fix. On Steam, Stalker 2's reviews are mostly positive. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I know it's on. I didn't really see how it's running on Xbox. I didn't see if it's struggling at all on Xbox. Everything I've seen of Stalker 2 has mostly been on the PC front. But yeah, we'll see if it ends up coming to PlayStation or not. I don't mind waiting a little while. Ray, you're saying, damn, what did I miss? Surprise meeting at work during the intro. What's up? The only thing you've missed so far is we talked about the Helldivers 2 limited edition DualSense that leaked. We don't have an image of it, but Sony's getting ready to announce that very soon. And we kind of talked about the idea of whether or not Sony's going to do, a state of play or showcase, or if they're just going to be at the Game Awards. Unico, you're saying Stalker 2 runs a solid 30 on the Series S and sub 50 on the Series X. You're thinking that the PS5 Pro GPU could probably get it to a consistent 60? Okay. It seems like from what I've seen of it, the graphics, it does look like a really good looking game actually, from what I've seen. So yeah, thank you for that, Garrett. Hopefully soon. Dude, look at Leia. She's in a complete daze. I think Luna's in here somewhere. You think they're going to announce Naughty Dog's new IP at the Game Awards? Well, we're gonna be talking about that in just a moment. That's the next topic in line. Um, she's giving the look like, "Be quiet, I'm sleeping." All right, well, guys, we're gonna move on to the next set of topics here, which we're gonna talk about Naughty Dog and the situation that's going on with this new game of theirs. And we have again some official news, but also some news that seemed like it was true, but apparently it's been disproven and it's false. So before we do that, guys, once again, make sure you hit that like button to help the stream out. We're about to hit 100 likes, which is great to see. So thank you for that. But I have a report here from PlayStation Lifestyle, and it says acclaimed voice actor Troy Baker is set to work on a new project from Sony game studio Naughty Dog. Besides it being created by Neil Druckmann, details on the role and the upcoming game are unknown. In a recent GQ profile, as spotted by Eurogamer, it is confirmed that The Last of Us lead actor will return to Naughty Dog. Druckmann shared his enthusiasm about working with the actor, saying, "In a heartbeat, I would always work with Troy." There really isn't anything formally announced about Naughty Dog's next game. However, there have been teases here and there, some of which are from Neil Druckmann himself. In a webinar with BioShock creator Ken Levine, he stated the project has been in development since 2020. Additionally, Sony has not granted him permission to announce the game, but he is being given full creative control. There have also been rumors that the critically lauded studio is working on a fantasy game. This alleged project is said to focus mainly on player freedom. So this is the official news regarding Naughty Dog. And what's interesting about this news is the different interpretations I've seen from people hearing that Troy Baker is going to be part of Naughty Dog's next game. It's not surprising because Troy Baker played Nathan Drake's brother, Sam, in Uncharted 4. And he obviously is known for Joel in The Last of Us. So he has a pretty deep history with Naughty Dog. But because he's known for Joel, there are quite a few people that when they heard this news, they immediately assumed that this has something to do with The Last of Us. There's going to be some type of Last of Us game where Joel's going to be in it. And honestly, one of the things I've been seeing a lot of people say is they think that maybe this is hinting towards a prequel of some kind for The Last of Us. And I'm going to say right now that I understand why people would assume this, because if you haven't been paying very close attention to Naughty Dog and following the little clues that they've kind of been leaving about, about their next game, I understand why people would jump to that conclusion. But I'm going to say I don't think this has anything to do with The Last of Us. I think this is a completely new game. I see we have a direct donation from Moonshot, and let me see. You're saying, I forgot to transfer my save data from my PS5 to my Pro. I just swapped my 2 terabyte SSD. Now I lost all of my amazing screenshots and pictures. How do I get them? Well, as long as you didn't delete them off of your as long as you didn't delete them off the PS5 you're transferring them from, you should be able to, I was going to say that. Unknown is, you should be able to copy them to a USB. transfer them over to a USB, and then plug the USB into your Pro, and then just transfer the files that way. Oh, here's boss. Okay. Hello, boss. Okay. My cats, they need to be part of the stream, you know? So Moonshot, hopefully that helps, man. You, again, as long as you didn't delete anything, like as long as you didn't delete them from your PS5 that you're transferring them from, as long as you didn't wipe your PS5 or reset it, you'll be able to transfer them manually with a USB. So I hope you're able to get that done, because yeah, that's definitely not something you want to lose. And of course, Rich Rod at Boston. Come on. Hold on. Do you want to chill with Leia? He's like, I don't want to go up there. We have, Rich Rod, hold on one second. Moonshot with another direct donation says, I've already traded in my PS5. I'm one of those dudes that takes a lot of pictures and screw around in photo mode, insane pics on all the first party games. Oh no, dude. Oh man, I'm sorry to say, but I think you're cooked. I think you're cooked, man. Yeah, that was what I was afraid you were gonna say, where you're like, bro, I don't have my original PS5. I got rid of it. Isn't there cloud saves? So I don't think so. Well, I don't believe there is with screenshots and photos. Like I think you can, you can back them up, I think, after the fact, but I don't think it's automatically yeah, when it comes to media, I don't even know if you can back up the media. The only thing I've ever done with PlayStation or with the PS5 is transfer them. But yeah, that sucks, man. I mean, here the only other question I have, Moonshot, and I don't know if you're able to answer this, but if you posted them, like, I don't know if after you took these pictures and these screenshots, if you maybe posted them on social media or something, maybe you can like re-download them manually that way. But yeah, if you never posted them anywhere and they were just living on your PS5, once the PS5 was wiped, unfortunately, they went with it. Recent photos get saved to the PlayStation app, I think. Maybe you can find some there. So yeah, I know there was some kind of update not too long ago where they seemingly did integrate media into the PlayStation app a little bit deeper, but I feel like that's, again, I could be wrong, but I feel like that's something you had to manually enable. You could check. Yeah, maybe I'm wrong though. Maybe it is automatic. They are automatically backed up via the mobile app and captures. Okay. Was it always like, I feel like there's no way it was always like that, right? 14 days on the app and then gone. Oh wow, okay, there's a caveat. So yeah, at that point, Moonshot, your best bet is to download the PlayStation app, check your captures and your recent captures, and just see what's there, you know? But if there's truth to what Steve's saying, though, Steve is saying 14 days on the app and then gone. At that point, yeah. I don't know. And let me see what Rich Rod said. I'm sure it's something very enlightening, as it always is. Rich Rod says, blank Corden, don't you ever disrespect MB Gangstas. I will slap you so hard your mama and BF will feel it. I'll slap you so hard you get fired with Kojima Productions. Sucker. Damn, Rich Rod. Rich Rod, can you just stop being so violent, man? Can you just stop being so violent? That's all I ask of you. Like, you could talk about Xbox if you want, man. But why the violence? Still with the violence. Rich Rod wants to hurt people, man. You know I don't condone this violence, Rich Rod. So insanely aggressive. It's how he shows love. That's not healthy. That's not healthy at all. Is Rich Rod in a gang? Yeah, he's apparently he started a gang called the gang MB Gangstas. Apparently, I don't think I'm part of that gang, but thank you for the donation, Rich Rod. I do appreciate it. And Moonshot, thank you for the donations as well. When it comes to Naughty Dog, getting back to what I was saying, yeah, I don't think Troy Baker being involved with the next Naughty Dog game has anything to do with, I don't think it has anything to do with The Last of Us. I mean, as much as I would enjoy seeing some kind of like prequel that focuses on Joel, maybe, you know, Joel and his brother surviving and whatnot, that would be awesome. That would be awesome. But I just don't think that's what's happening. I think there are so many signs that point to Naughty Dog's next game being something brand new, something that they've never done before. And I think the idea that Troy Baker is going to be part of that and just be playing a new character, I think that's basically what they're trying to not so subtly hint at here. That's my assumption. And we have Hellbound. 1981, Hellbound the Legend comes in and drops the 5 bomb for you guys. He drops 5 membership gifts. Hellbound is always showing incredible support for the channel and the community. Thank you so much for that, Hellbound.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I feel like Hellbound gifted early today because he sees Leia. He's like, oh, surprise appearance by Leia. And we have a super chat from Wabu Dude. He says, it's kind of like when Martin Scorsese announces that Leo is starring in his next film. Doesn't mean we're getting a Wolf of Wall Street sequel. Yeah, exactly, Wabu Dude. It just seems like it does seem like a similar situation where you see movie directors, they like certain actors. They like working with certain actors and actresses, and they kind of do multiple movies together. And sometimes they're like even in a row. But like you're saying, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're making a sequel to the previous movie. And I feel like that's kind of what we're looking at here. And I want to say something though, real quick. One of the top comments on my video today, I couldn't help but notice this, where they were basically complaining. They're like, bro, Troy, leave some work for the rest of them. Like, Troy, stop taking all the roles. You know, I will say the article I was reading from, I didn't read the last paragraph, but the last paragraph was basically saying how like Troy Baker hasn't really been in much lately. The only other game Troy Baker has been in this year is Indiana Jones. I think he's been in Indiana Jones and let me see if I still have the article up. He was only in Indiana Jones and Batman Arkham Shadow. So it seems like Troy has been kind of easing up a bit. He's not everywhere. The 30th anniversary DualSense is being sold at double the price. I'm not surprised, man. I'm not surprised to hear that. Kyle Say Stuff. Thank you for the super chat. By the way, Kyle Say Stuff, I got to ask you, were you the one? I think it was like from 2 weeks ago or something. There was somebody in my chat that was dropping quite a few super chats talking to me about Until Dawn, and they were excited about me playing Until Dawn. Was that you, Kyle, say stuff? The reason why I'm asking is because I will say I did play Until Dawn. I did beat it, and I did like an extensive review, or at least what I consider a review of it. Not on yesterday's stream, but the one prior to that. Just want to point that out there because I know I put out so many streams, it's hard for people to keep track of everything. But if you're interested in hearing my thoughts on, okay, so it was you. Okay, I thought so. If you're interested in hearing my thoughts on Until Dawn, because I finally did play it and beat it, not the last stream, but the one prior to that, I would I recommend checking it out. People seem to enjoy that discussion. But you say here, we had rumors of Santa Monica and Naughty Dog making new IPs for years now. If the rumors are correct, they both have been working on those for 4+ years. That's what I'm saying, man. That's what I'm saying. That's why I'm like, we have to be close now. Like, we got to be right on the brink of one of these studios. Like, not all of them, but just, and it's not, even with Santa Monica and Naughty Dog, we're also looking at Sony Bend and Blue Point. Those are two other studios that have been working on games for like 4+ years now, or very close to it. So the thing that I find interesting is we're seeing Naughty Dog pop up in the news cycle more frequently, and I don't know if that's intentional or if it's just, coincidence, but it does start to make me think, and we have so Kyle, thank you for the super chat, buddy. And yeah, we'll see if one of those games show up. Moonshot drops another direct donation. He says, yeah, I'm super cooked. Pour one out for my albums for Ghost of Tsushima and all the Spider-Man games. I had some absolute fire there. Horizon 2. Yeah, bro. We'll pour one out for you, man. I'm sorry to hear that. So, well, I guess what you can do now is, maybe learn from this. And, going forward, maybe if you don't have a USB stick, buy one and transfer everything. Make copies of everything. So that way, in the future, like whenever we, go to upgrade to the PlayStation 6 and whatnot, we'll, you'll have everything there. It'll be safe. No worries. Or yeah, an external SSD. You could do that too. It's another option, I think. But yeah, man, like something else popped up for Naughty Dog that I found pretty interesting. So yesterday we got the official confirmation that Troy Baker is going to be starring in Naughty Dog's next game. And that's all we learned. But then a report came out. The original story from Push Square says, we all know Naughty Dog is beavering away at something. We just don't know what. Well, we know it'll be a single-player game in the studio's usual style, with the developer committing to that after dropping its multiplayer title, its multiplayer Last of Us title. But what exactly is the studio up to? A clue from LinkedIn has appeared, and they refer to the individual on X called Arctix, I guess is how you say that. And it could very well reveal the title of the team's new intellectual property. It would appear that the game is known as Timeless Travel. They say here, we've seen the profile in question and can confirm it does indeed feature this phrase at the time of writing. This will likely be removed once Sony and Naughty Dog are made aware of it. It is possible that Timeless Travel is a code name of some sort, although code names are typically nondescript words or phrases. Timeless Travel reads as some kind of sci-fi or possibly fantasy adventure, either of which would be refreshing changes of pace for Naughty Dog. Now, there's an update to this. Update Tuesday, November 26th at 5:56 a.m. Well, never mind. The LinkedIn profile, which bears the Timeless Travel name, appears to be a fake one. The profile, belonging to a supposed Raymond Keller, purports to have a background at Bungie and WB Games Montreal working on Gotham Knights, in addition to a current position at Naughty Dog. But there doesn't seem to be any evidence of such a name existing in the credits of any of the previously mentioned studios or projects that are associated with these studios. Unfortunately, this seems to be nothing more than a trick. We will update you if anything new comes to light. So this was something that was going around. And it's understandable. People are going to latch onto it because they're like, yo, I think this may reveal not that much about Naughty Dog's next game, but let's face it, if Naughty Dog's next game is titled Timeless Travel, or even if that was the code name, that gives us the most amount of context that we've received so far. So I understand why people are quick to jump on this, because it feels like we've been talking about Naughty Dog for literally like years, right? We've been talking about Naughty Dog for years, and whether or not they're going to reveal their game, whether or not they're going to do a new IP, whether or not they're doing The Last of Us Part 3. And we were covering The Last of Us multiplayer, and we saw how that ended. And this generation so far, a lot of people have had so much consternation towards Naughty Dog, mainly because, I mean, there are people who don't like Naughty Dog anymore because of The Last of Us Part 2, but what makes matters worse for them is that it's like, okay, so what did you produce for the 4 years of the PS5 generation? Uncharted Collection, Last of Us 1 Remake, Last of Us 2 Remaster. And to be honest, when I see people talking about Naughty Dog outside of, it's not that I see it that often, but when I do see people talking about Naughty Dog outside of, certain places like this or others that are paying very close to PlayStation and know they're working on something new, people legitimately are at a point where they're like, yeah, this is just a remaster studio now. Like they don't make new games anymore. Like they're just going to remaster and remake stuff. That's actually what has happened to their reputation. And I think it's understandable because it's like, yeah, dude, by this point in time, people were expecting at least one new game, one new game announcement, anything new, and nothing new has been produced. But that's why I think the leak about, Neil Druckmann revealing that their game has been in development for 4+ years now is hugely reassuring, because it means that, yeah, we're going to get something from Naughty Dog before the end. It's probably well before the end of this generation. If this generation is going to end in 2027 or 2028, I have no doubt in my mind their game's going to launch before that, because that's a long time. Assuming there's no development problems, assuming they didn't have to like scrap it and reboot it or something, and development is going smoothly, this game could be out. I mean, I don't want to say by next year, but early 2026, potentially, I think that's a possibility. And so it does seem like things are beginning to slowly simmer a little bit, slowly heat up, where, again, Troy Baker's coming out saying, yeah, I'm starring in the next Naughty Dog game. There's ample evidence that proves the next Naughty Dog game is not going to be The Last of Us. There's ample evidence that proves Naughty Dog's doing something very different. One of the main things we learned this year from a credible source, that being MidMax, who they rarely ever reveal stuff, but they were talking to somebody who's working on the next Naughty Dog game, and or who knows about the next Naughty Dog game, and he didn't want to reveal too much. Clearly, he didn't want too much attention on it, and he didn't want to give his source away. But he was saying that the game, when he was talking about the new Naughty Dog game, he was comparing it to another game, and he was just saying like, well, the game that he's thinking of is known for gameplay freedom, like just total player freedom, and people are thinking like GTA, people are thinking Skyrim, people are thinking Elden Ring, stuff like that, Cyberpunk, and this is going to be really, really, really interesting, man. Like I can't help but get a little bit excited at the idea of Naughty Dog kind of, I think that they have something they have to prove now. And I know that's insane to say, because it's like, what are you talking about? Like the Last of Us 1, The Last of Us 2, they're considered masterpieces, although The Last of Us 2 is very, polarizing, Uncharted. But I think enough time has went by, and I think that because not everybody views The Last of Us Part 2 as a masterpiece, I think Naughty Dog, what I believe they need to do is remind everybody that they can make games that are not necessarily divisive, that are also masterpieces. That's it. That's, in my opinion, that's what they need to do to get back on top. And not have this negative connotation with their reputation anymore. Because let's face it, dude, people don't view, like, I know there are people who disagree with this, but people, not the general public, doesn't view Naughty Dog the same way as they once did. I'm not saying that the general public thinks Naughty Dog is bad or a joke of a studio. Like, we've seen way worse. It's not that bad, but they're not at the peak anymore in a lot of people's minds, and a lot of people have consternation towards Neil Druckmann specifically and whatnot. And I just think what they need to do is they need to nail their next game, where it's like, it's gotta thread that needle of, it can just be a universally loved game because of what it's offering, where it's like, it's something different. It's nothing like The Last of Us. It's nothing like Uncharted, but it has that level of quality, and it's something, it feels truly fresh, but it has that like Naughty Dog quality attached to it. I think that's what they need, man. Chris Brown, you're saying insane. Naughty Dog gave us Uncharted 1 through 3 and The Last of Us in one gen. Yeah, that is insane output. And that's what I mean, dude. That's why people are kind of in shock at the situation we're seeing with Naughty Dog, because what you just said, right? What you just said. I mean, 4 games in one generation from Naughty Dog versus being halfway through a new generation with 0 new games. Rich Rod with another direct donation. He says, reinstate MB Gangsta Shaco and then make me a mod and I can teach him the ways. Only attack the enemies like Koji Pro, Colt, especially Colt and Cyborg suckers. No, I'm not going to be doing that, Rich Rod. You know, it's nothing personal. It's just, I don't think people quite understand, like, how. So I did see some people talking about this. We still have mods, you know, but it's a serious thing to delete a super chat. And that's something that, I mean, I guess I should just explain a little bit further that it's not because this person super chatted frequently. I mean, that hurts me, like, straight up. Like, I don't know. I mean, I don't keep track of individual donors and like how much a person spends. But what I do know is that Waylark individual, no joke, probably has spent at least a couple $100 like this month on super chats. And he's never been nasty. I mean, there have been times where he didn't fully agree with me and he would present that in a super chat, which is fine. He was never disrespectful about it. You know? But he got pissed off because he paid $5, I think it was like $6 for a chat, and it got deleted, you know? And it's like, the worst part about it is he didn't say anything that warranted that. Like, deleting a super chat is, again, like, somebody's paying to type those words to be read by a content creator or a streamer. Like, the only time a deletion of a super chat is warranted is if it crosses some kind of very obvious line. Like, to put that in perspective, like, I've only ever had to delete, like, in my entire time doing this, like, 2 super chats ever. So, you know, it definitely hurt the stream. You know, it hurt the stream, and there's just no denying that if that person chooses not to come back and not to donate to the channel anymore, like, that directly hurts my channel. But, you know, somewhat significantly. Like, I'm not saying that the entirety, you know, the channel's existence hinges on this one individual. That's not true at all, but there's no denying that it does hurt. So, you know, it's one of those things where I cannot risk having that ever occur again. So, you know, it is what it is, and I just hope that people understand. And you know, it's just it's a pretty uncool thing, all in all. So, but yeah, getting back to the conversation around Naughty Dog, well, I will say this. Listen, if Sony is not doing a state of play, if Sony is not doing a showcase, then my assumption is that I think Naughty Dog is actually going to show up at the Game Awards. I do think that. I think that Sony, if they're not going to put on a show, they will still drop something big. And I think, because if I'm not mistaken, The Last of Us 1 was originally revealed at the Game Awards. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure I'm right. The original Last of Us was revealed at the Game Awards. So it's a thing that Sony has done before. Now, granted, that was a long time ago, but here's what's interesting. The Game Awards were way smaller back then compared to now. So if anything, it would make way more sense for Sony to decide, let's reveal one of our new games here now in 2024, because the Game Awards are like literally 10 times bigger than they were back in, what was that like 2011 when they revealed that? Am I wrong about that? Hold on. You're saying no, it was announced at their E3. Am I mixing games up here? Hold on. Now I got to look this up. Let me fact check myself. Where was The Last of Us revealed? Where was The Last of Us revealed? The Last of Us was announced on December 10th, 2011 at the Spike Video Game Awards alongside its debut trailer. See, I knew I was right. You're gaslighting me. Damn you, Shems. No, I just looked up. That's, maybe Shems is coming from a different timeline, bro. Shems is waking up to the reality that he shifted timelines somewhere along the way. But yeah, December 10th, 2011. And at that time, it was known as the Spike Video Game Awards. I'm curious. Spike Video Game Awards. I'm looking for viewership. I'm looking for some viewership numbers. I don't know if it's possible to find this, but I'm not seeing it anywhere. I just want to know how many millions of people watched the Game Awards in 2011. (2012) 2011. I mean, it doesn't say. They did have like the Black Keys playing. I think that's where Fortnite was originally revealed. No way. Really? This is weird. All right, so if we... Let me check 2023. So 118 million people watched the Game Awards in 2023. There's no way 118 million. Nowhere close, right? Like, there's no way 118 million people watched the Game Awards in 2011. It was probably half that. Probably less than half. So I would say, yeah, that is nuts. That's nuts. So do not underestimate. This is why I'm saying, like, when we talk about Sony deciding we're just going to show it at the Game Awards, we're just going to show the game. We're going to show it at the Game Awards. This is why. This is how many people watch this. So That was last year. That was 118 million. I mean, it would be crazy if they could get more viewership this year. But the Game Awards have truly grown to a juggernaut status when it comes to viewership. So I wouldn't be surprised if Sony was like, yep, that's where we're going to reveal Naughty Dog's new game. You think Sony's going to save that moment for themselves? I mean, I will say this. I think it would be okay if they didn't, because I think Sony, they have so many studios that have not revealed something that could be ready to reveal something that they could afford. Like, what I'm trying to say is they could afford. They could absolutely afford to give something to Jeff at this show. They could, for sure. But I also see it from the perspective of they would want to save that for themselves. But Neil Druckmann did say he doesn't get to control when they reveal their next game. That's all on Sony, right? So, Blake Wilson with a $10 super chat. Thank you for that, buddy. He says, hey, MBG, this month is Half-Life 2's 20th anniversary. Have you played it? What are your thoughts on the game? I think it's the best first-person shooter ever made. Well, I have not played Half-Life 2. To be honest, I've just never... The only Valve games I've played are Left 4 Dead 1 and 2, and I'm pretty sure way back when I played a little bit of Team Fortress. But no, I've never played Half-Life. It's just I've never played it, dude. I never played it on. I don't even know if it's available on console. I never played it on console. I never played it on PC. Is that really that crazy? Please stop streaming right now and play Half-Life 2. I'm begging you. Actually, I played a little bit of Portal as well. Yeah, I forgot that. Yeah, Portal I played for a little bit. And I'm like, oh, this is hurting my brain. But Portal was interesting. But yeah, man, never played either of the Half-Life games. And I'll be honest, man, like, I know this is going to be such a weird take, but I've never seeing the desperation that people have for Half-Life 3 makes me not want to play it. I'm not even kidding. Although apparently Half-Life 3 is real, which is interesting. But Half-Life 3 has become this like joke where it's like, we need it. And it's like never happening. And I'm like, dude, I went through this with Left 4 Dead and I don't want to deal with that again, where it's like, bro, I've been waiting for Left 4 Dead 3. I know it's never happening. It's just like, well, that was it, you know? Left 4 Dead 1, Left 4 Dead 2, and that's it. You're not going to get a third one. And seeing the way people are with wanting Half-Life 3, I'm like, oh, I don't know if I want to do this, you know? I don't know that I don't know that I want to become a person that wants Half-Life 3. See, I have no investment. I don't give a shit if Half-Life 3 exists or not because I never played the games. But it's like one of those things. It's like once you're in, bro. But you got Back 4 Blood. Yeah, I know. We don't talk about that. Saying, come on, that's a dumb reason. I know it is a dumb reason. It is. No, truthfully, that's not why I didn't play it. It's just because I never really was drawn to it. I don't know. There are definitely games that I would say are considered huge, and just monumental games that I've just never played, not because I've ever went out of my way to not play them. No, it's not because I hate old games. That's not why. Crisis 4 to be revealed at the Game Awards. But yeah, what's interesting is I was seeing that apparently Half-Life 3 is real. Like I've been noticing that on the Gaming Leaks and Rumors subreddit these days, where it's been like pretty, I don't know if it's been like confirmed, but there's just all of this evidence that like, holy shit, this is real. Like it's being made right now. It's real. Back 4 Blood 2 is supposed to be in development. Oh my God. We'll get a Back 4 Blood 3 before we get a Left 4 Dead 3. Saying Half-Life 2 is an older game, but plays better than a lot of Sony current gen games. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, that's what people are saying. They're saying in the chat right now, it's like one of the best FPSs ever. It holds up. I don't know. Maybe one day I will have to play it. I'll have to sit down and play the first and the second. Well, let me ask you this. How big of a difference is there between the two games? Like, everybody talks about how amazing Half-Life 2 is. Is Half-Life 1, like, is it still good? Is it just not as good? Saying Half-Life 3 wasn't vaporware. We've seen Valve were working on it, and now we're separately making it. It was Half-Life Episode 3 back in the day. Sean, you're saying Half-Life was amazing. I love how Mr. Drake09 is just in the chat like, hot take, folks. Stray is the best PS5 game of the generation with Astrobot. Stray, well, I did play Stray. Stray was awesome. I really, really, really enjoyed Stray. Like, I enjoyed Stray way more than I thought. I'm like, man, this game is fun as hell. I don't know. Like, it was a great game. I didn't think I would enjoy playing a game where you play as a cat that much, but here I am. Half-Life 1 was 100% off on Steam the other day. So it was free. You'd play Black Mesa these days. Black Mesa is the definitive Half-Life experience. Is that only available on PC, I assume? Black Mesa. Yeah, that's one of those blind spots, you know, when it comes to video games for me. You got the entire collection when it was like super cheap on Steam. Got the entire catalog. Hollywood Will Burn. I'm not going to spoil that, man. You gotta play it. Josh, you're saying old games are better than new games. New games have such lackluster game design with rare exceptions. I mean, yeah, it does seem like in a lot of ways game design in 2024, not in all cases. Like there's still many games that I very much thoroughly enjoy that are recent games. But I can see in some instances where it does feel like the game design for some reason seems to have taken a step back, where it's like certain things I think presentation wise, you know what it seems like? It seems like sometimes especially in the AAA gaming space, the presentation has become more important than the function itself, than the actual like gameplay itself. Not in all cases, but in some cases you can kind of see where it's like there's too much care going into how this game presents and not enough going into how it feels to play, you know? And there's nothing wrong with caring about presentation. Presentation is huge, but you know, gameplay is always king. Always. It's okay if presentation suffers at the expense of better gameplay. That's okay. It's not okay if gameplay suffers at the expense of better presentation. At least that's my opinion on it. Graphics become more important than things like physics. I mean, yeah, it's like I feel like animation work in particular is the big one for me, where sometimes I feel like you can have the best animated game, like the most realistic movement and animations, but that doesn't necessarily always facilitate funner gameplay. Sometimes it can actually make it feel less fun, you know, where it's like and I guess that's kind of the difference between realism versus a more arcade style approach to gameplay. But it's not to say that animation isn't important. It is critical. It is, but it's just, I don't know. I think about like, this is where I do think of From Software and I do think of Elden Ring, and I'm like, you know, Elden Ring to me is the epitome of a game in 24. Well, I mean, Shadow of the Erdtree did come out this year, but when it came out, it's like, yeah, man, the presentation of the game is awesome, but it's not going over the top with cutscenes. It's not trying to have photorealistic looking characters and facial animations. It's not trying to have the most realistic, true to, life physics based, it it prioritizes the feel of the gameplay, like what feels right, what feels best. And I think that's it's good to know that games like that are prioritizing stuff like that and just not really caring about the other. It's not that they don't care about the other stuff, but the other stuff isn't prioritized as much. To see games like that still kind of rise to the top, I think it continues to prove the point that, bro, people play games for good gameplay. Like story is great, presentation's great, but having the most realistic animations that takes like 10 seconds to do one thing because look at how realistic this animation is. It's like, that's great too. But I don't know, man. My thoughts, generally speaking, though, are that there's so many games being made today. It does depend on the game. Yeah, and that's the thing. There's so many games being made today. There's so many games, so many developers, so many genres now, right? It's just like anything you want, it's out there. You can go get it. Okay, you're saying we've moved from game developers creating genres to now it is mostly iterative on those original designs. Josh says some of my favorite games just look okay. I saw somebody was asking Shems, you're saying, did you try out the PS4 version of Until Dawn yet? Not yet, Shems. I'm finishing up. We're almost, me and Mrs. MBG have almost completed our playthrough of the remake. But yeah, once I finish that, I'm gonna go and play the PS4 version and compare it because I'm actually really curious now. Mrs. MBG says somehow all three cats are in there, but none are on your screen. Oh yeah, Luna's sleeping in the chair next to me here, totally camouflaged. Boss is over there, and I don't know where Leia went. Leia's somewhere. Until Dawn overload. Yeah. Well, I don't know. People are very passionate about the original Until Dawn, and a lot of people are very adamant when they tell me like the presentation is better, the lighting's better. Apparently, the soundtrack is different, which I didn't know about. Apparently they changed the soundtrack, and they're saying the soundtrack in the original is much better, and that to me is really interesting because it's like, oh, I mean, this is a game where I feel like the sound design definitely matters a lot. The soundtrack definitely matters, so I'm interested in hearing that. Who is making Until Dawn 2? Fire Sprite. Yeah, I don't know. It could be a disaster, bro. Very interesting situation going on with Until Dawn. Until Dawn was made by Supermassive, and they apparently they were going to do Until Dawn 2 with Sony, but there were like these reports that like we don't know how much truth there is to it, but there were like reports that basically insinuated that Supermassive became difficult to work with because they kind of got like, like they felt like they were too big now to really have to worry, like deal with Sony or worry about what Sony thinks, which I guess is understandable because Until Dawn was a big hit and a big success. And Sony basically just kind of got frustrated and was like, we're just not dealing with this, And so when you look at the Quarry and the Dark Pictures series or the anthology, that's all stuff presumably that would have been with Sony if I guess their relationship didn't fall apart. But Sony does own the Until Dawn IP, and so we heard about the remake and then that came out, but there's a movie for Until Dawn coming out, and for many months we've been reading job listings for Firesprite, and when you read those job listings, I mean, it pretty much describes the genre and gameplay that Until Dawn is. And we did hear from I think it was some insider recently that they confirmed that yeah, they're they're making Until Dawn 2. And so yeah, we'll see how that turns out. I mean, what's going to be super interesting to me is just knowing that it's a completely different studio that has no experience with this IP, no experience in this genre. Making a sequel to a game that is pretty beloved and did really well. So that'll be a very interesting reveal. Supermassive made the casting of Frank Stone. Yeah, I really got to get on that. I'm still waiting for them to announce a physical version of that, and it just seems like they're not going to. I've been waiting. I'm like, surely they're going to make a physical version, right? But saying Until Dawn original can't be beat because the Decima engine can't be beat. You should see the leaked early build of Until Dawn on PS3. PlayStation Move was a big part of the game. I didn't know that. I feel like I remember hearing that a long time ago, but I wonder what that looks like. It was a Move FPS game. It was first person. Supermassive are veterans of these types of games. Yeah, that's what's fascinating to me about the idea of Firesprite. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, I'm not trying to be purposely negative, but like Until Dawn 2 could be a train wreck and a disaster. I mean, Firesprite hasn't done anything under Sony except Horizon Call of the Mountain. And there's nothing wrong with Horizon Call of the Mountain, but dude, this is a massive studio that Sony bought. Like, Firesprite was one of the bigger purchases that Sony made in the last couple of years. And I don't know how big they are now, but when they purchased them, they had like 300 plus devs or something. So I don't know, man. Like, they don't have much experience. I mean, I know that they made a horror VR game. So they have a little bit of experience in horror, but I guess we'll see. Who knows what direction they might take? Maybe Until Dawn 2 will be completely different. Just completely and entirely different from the original. Saying Until Dawn 1 ran so bad MBG, even on the PS5 Pro, it's not 60 FPS locked. It has emulation issues also. People have rose tinted glasses. Until Dawn was like 20 FPS on the PS4 and PS4 Pro. Well, like I said, man, I'm gonna play it. I'm gonna try it, and I'll determine for myself. The conclusion that I assume I might come to is that maybe most of what the original Until Dawn didn't need, like, maybe the only thing that actually needed to change was they just needed to optimize the game better and get it performing better, and just maybe increase the overall graphical fidelity through higher resolution, maybe a couple lighting tweaks potentially. But anything is better than Unreal Engine 5, to be honest. I mean, I will say this, and I forgot to mention this in my Until Dawn review. I will say there's a lot of bugs. Nothing major. Like, no, I didn't encounter anything major. But like, just a lot of graphical errors and hitches where the characters will just kind of behave in weird ways or stutter or hiccup or, just little things here and there that, again, they're not like game breaking by any means, but they are slightly immersion breaking and sometimes funny, which is not a bad thing all the time. But in a game like this, yeah, Mrs. MBG was pointing out that when we're outside and it's snowing, there seems to be like more glitches and issues, and that does seem to be consistent. Also, I do want to say this. I did play Until Dawn Remake on both the PS5 and the PS5 Pro in performance mode. I can't see any differences, at least nothing obvious. So apparently this game is also PS5 Pro enhanced, but to what degree, I'm not entirely sure. I just thought I would put that out there. We have yet to do see a comparison or like an analysis, but just from me looking at the screens, again, playing it on base PS5 performance mode, PS5 Pro performance mode, not seeing any huge differences. Actually, I'm not seeing any differences at all. The original Until Dawn had the je ne sais quoi that made its flavor and vibe so special. Well, yeah, I'll be checking it out soon, man. People do confuse load zone hitches with performance hitches tied to GPU or CPU bottlenecks or streaming issues. Yeah, I've noticed that. I think that might be what's happening a lot of the times. There's kind of like load zone hitches where you could tell like it just freezes for like a split second, like a fraction of a second, and it seems like it's because something was like loading. But yeah, still a good experience overall, though. All right. So I do want to move on to the, I think, final topic here, which is nothing major. A lot of what we've been discussing, but something that I just think is worth giving you guys an update on because I assume that this is not going to go away. In fact, we're probably going to be hearing more about it in the coming weeks. But another write-up here from PlayStation Lifestyle says From Software parent company Katakawa Corporation has reportedly been pushing Sony towards a purchase. According to a new report, we first saw speculations last week that Katakawa, set the stage for a Sony acquisition to fend off a hostile takeover from foreign companies. A fresh report by Bloomberg partially backs up these claims. Bloomberg reports that both Katakawa and Sony have been going back and forth for a number of years, with the former wanting Sony to make a full purchase, whereas the latter was only interested in strategic investments in anime and video game IP. Though Bloomberg's report mentions that Microsoft and Tencent and Keiko or Kako, I don't know if I'm saying them correctly, have all expressed an interest in Katakawa, it stopped short of confirming that Katakawa wanted to fight off a foreign entity in favor of Sony. Interestingly, Bloomberg claims that news of a potential acquisition pushed Katakawa's market value up to $4.1 billion, making a deal with Sony even more difficult than it was just a week ago. Additionally, offers from other buyers are also a possibility. So what happens next remains to be seen. Analysts have told Bloomberg that Katakawa could be one of Sony's best purchases and that From Software alone holds massive value, although the acquisition has more to do with anime than video games. So yet another report regarding the potential Katakawa acquisition, and the report reiterates something that we've been hearing, and that is that apparently Katakawa is the one that's like, Sony, you gonna buy us or what? Come on, Sony, make it happen. And Sony's like, I don't know about this. It's kind of funny to think. You're saying it's pronounced like Carco. Yeah, see that I don't like that. Why? Kakao. You're telling me that's pronounced Carcow. Carcow. Even if that's true, I don't think I care. Like, that's just how is that possible? so tired of all this nonsense, bro, with pronunciation. But it is interesting to think. It's interesting to think that, originally people were assuming that this was Sony maybe going on the aggressive. Sony wants to get more aggressive with acquisitions. They want to get From Software. They want to, they want to get Katakawa. But the reality is, it seems like Sony is just, they've been trying to see if they can just kind of extract the things that they deem most valuable and just leave the rest. And kind of makes sense. Kind of makes sense for them to want to do it that way. But it seems like the only way this is going to happen is if Sony goes all in. And that's apparently what Katakawa wants. Katakawa seems like they're not going to agree to anything other than just Sony going all in. And another thing that's interesting and I think worth pointing out here is that analysts that are chiming in and weighing in, they're all seemingly saying the same thing, that they think this would be a good move for Sony. Like, this would be a good acquisition for them. I also want to say, listen, I've been seeing a lot of different arguments taking place, a lot of back and forth between this potential acquisition when it comes to the anime and manga side. There are people who seem to firmly believe that this will give Sony a monopoly. There are other people who are basically calling people who think that's stupid and basically going on to explain why that's not a thing, that this will absolutely not give Sony a monopoly. And this is where, I'll be honest, I don't really care enough to figure it out. I'm just going to be real. I care about the gaming industry, I care about video games, and I care about how this is going to impact the video game industry. When it comes to anime, I'm not going to pretend that I'm suddenly, I'm into the anime, and I care about this industry, and I know about it. I don't know anything, dude. I don't know jack shit about anime. I don't watch anime. I don't engage with it. I don't have a problem with it. I'm just saying, I don't know. So, it's one of these things where it's like, if it is true that it gives Sony a monopoly on anime, it's like, oh, well, that sucks. I'm not rooting for that. But, when people are like, bro, no, that's not true. Let me tell you why. It's just like, okay, I guess you're right. I don't know. I don't know that. I just want to know what's going on with From Software. You know what I mean? In the gaming side. But yeah, man, when it comes to this, I think it makes sense that Sony would rather try to extract the things that they deem most valuable rather than taking on the entire company. Because the thing that's important to understand is that if Sony does make this acquisition, it can't be understated that it is I think, I could be wrong, I think it's one of the biggest, if not the biggest acquisition they will ever make, or that they've ever made, if it goes through. So it's huge. It's a huge deal. It's not mainly for gaming, but gaming will be a big part of it. There's no denying that From Software will be a big part of the acquisition, and I've been seeing a bunch of different takes on that too. How much would they cost? I mean, I don't know. People are thinking anywhere between 5 to 10 billion, 10 billion on the high end, maybe 8 billion. But yeah, it's going to be expensive for Sony for sure. Again, this is why I said it's not. You can't compare it to the ABK deal because it's nothing. It's much closer, I'd say, to something like Bethesda in terms of just sheer size and scope. But Bungie was 3.5 billion, which is a joke. I'm going to tell you right now, Sony paying $3.5 billion for Bungie is, I'm going to be honest, that might go down as one of the worst purchases ever. It's laughable, dude. Sony overpaid to a pathetic degree. I'm going to be honest with you, to a pathetic degree. I don't know what made Sony think that Bungie was anywhere near worth that. I think Sony got finessed, bro. Straight up. I think Sony got severely finessed. And I think Bungie cooked the books. I think Sony thought that they walked out with something good. Sony got sold a lemon, bro. And maybe not a lemon, but Maybe not a lemon, but it might be a little too harsh. But they definitely got ripped off. I think it's safe to say that. Were they desperate? Maybe. I'm telling you, looking back on it, I don't think it's desperation as much as it was just like Sony was shook, bro. I think that's what it is. I think Sony was shook. I think the leadership at Sony was a bit shook when they saw that Microsoft was like, we're buying ABK. I think that at the end of the day, somebody there at Sony, it could be Jim Ryan, you would assume it's Jim Ryan, somebody was shook, their cage was rattled, and they were like, so that deal we were planning on making with, like, the rumor is, and it makes sense, that Sony was already in talks with Bungie for quite some time, but it seems pretty clear to me that essentially once it was announced that Microsoft's acquiring ABK, they were just like, yeah, we'll do whatever it takes to get this deal through. You want 3.5 billion? 3.5? Yeah, we'll do. Okay, sure. Yeah, that's great. We don't need to see anymore. We just anything. Like, I'm pretty sure Jim Ryan was on the phone with somebody. He said, whatever it takes, get the deal done. And I think that may have been the critical mistake, because the implication is that if Sony was negotiating with them for months, that Sony was trying to maybe get a better deal out of it, not have to pay as much, you know? And I just think that seeing the ABK deal tip Sony over the edge, where they're like, you know what? We don't have time. We don't have time to mess around anymore. You know, we just got to give these guys what they want. And now we see how that turned out. And that's why I think Katakawa is very different, because Katakawa, like, honestly, everything I've seen, like, I don't know much about the anime stuff, but from what I can tell, like, this is the chances of this acquisition hurting Sony are pretty minimal. You know, like, the chances of From Software suddenly going to shit, the chances of, you know, I'd be honest, I can't speak to the anime side. That's where I'm kind of relying on the analysts more. Okay, you're saying yes, but MBG, the purchases are relative to the size of the companies, and for Sony, it was a relatively bigger purchase for them than ABK was for Microsoft. I see, that's even worse, though, like, because I think what you're saying is true. It does make sense. It's all relative. And that makes it even worse, because it's like, Jesus, man. If the Bungie acquisition could be that damaging in terms of, like, if it's a bad acquisition and how much we spent on it, God, it's, you know, 2020 hindsight and all that, but yeah, man, it just goes to show how much I've, at least how much I feel like I've learned in kind of following the industry and learning more and more about how this stuff works, because I thought, like, I bought into it, you know, like, at the time when Sony announced they were acquiring Bungie, like, I was like, yeah, I think this is going to be great. You know, I think that Sony doesn't have a studio like this. They can learn a lot from them. I can't imagine, like, can't wait to see what these live service games turn out like. I bought into it, man. And holy shit, I couldn't have been more wrong. And within the first year and a half or so, it became pretty clear, like, oh shit, you know, like, this is bad. And now I think we just see the full extent of the damage, you know, that frankly Jim Ryan, I think, caused. He wasn't all bad. I think it's unfair to say he was all bad, but I think Jim Ryan, he was in this position where it's like, bro, you got to make some moves. You got to make some moves. You know, it's a necessary thing. And I think he made the moves, and he made the wrong moves. Oliver, member for 19 months. Thank you, buddy. Says, MBG, come on, man. Make an effort. I need to see this man bun under the cap. Keep the great content going. Greetings and happy Christmas time to the family. Amen. Well, thank you so much for that, Oliver. Yeah, I mean, you'll see the man bun soon enough. All right. People are thinking I might hit 100K today or tonight or something. We'll see if we stay there. But Oliver, I would say be on the lookout for when we hit 101K. That's what I told everybody yesterday. 101K. I feel confident in we can do a little celebration and not risk going backwards. That's my hope. But thank you so much, Oliver, and I appreciate the longtime support as a member. MB Durag. Saying it should care about manga and anime. Pretty much the only uncensored original entertainment still alive in the world. Last bastion of creative freedom. The best part of games come from anime. I guess I never really looked at it that way. But when I say I don't care, I don't mean to make it sound like, I don't mean it to come off like I'm not trying to disrespect it or anything. It's just, I don't feel like I can, I'm not going to try to pretend that like, yeah, I watch anime and I pay attention. It's like, I don't. And if I were to insinuate otherwise, it would be totally disingenuous and just not true. Stay streaming till you hit 100K. Let me see where I'm at. Damn, bro, we're 27 subscribers away. Gasp. We're 27 subs away. That's crazy, actually. Yeah, I don't have a live counter right now, but breaking news. Neil Druckmann states in an article from Variety that his next project is the most excited he's ever been for a project. Holy shit. This just in. Game director says new project is the one he's most excited about. Dude, I want to hear a game director. This would be the funniest shit ever. I want to hear a game director come out and be like, I'm excited for the project that I'm working on, but I was actually more excited for the last one. No, but I mean, I will say, another tease. Like, you see what I'm saying when I put in the title, Naughty Dog's next game reveal has to be close. Has to be close, right? It's got to be. Why do all the interviews from Sony and PlayStation are always with like weird publications like Variety and stuff? You ever notice that? Congratulations. Oh, okay. So it says, congrats to our own Neil Druckmann on making Variety's top entertainment gaming leaders list. See a picture of Kojima. I guess that explains it. That explains why. When they do Forbes or Variety, it's because they want non-gamers to try to... You're saying they're trying to appeal to non-gamers and they want it to be in the mainstream. Yeah, I guess that does make sense. Oliver is saying 100K special podcasts with MBG and Herman Holst should happen and make PlayStation great again. Yeah, I can only imagine how quickly I would end up greatly offending Herman Holst. First question. Herman, it's great to have you on the show, man. It's an honor to have you here. It's very exciting. So I'm going to start with a nice and easy. We'll start with Icebreaker, an easy question. Why do you suck? Could you imagine? Herman literally just gets up and walks out. Herman, we're going to start with something real easy. Concord. That's it. That's the question. Just Concord question mark. And then, you know, I sit here and I ask, how come Sony doesn't want to talk to the gaming press or regular gamers and shit? In all serious, dude, if I could score an interview with Herman Holst, I would be dead serious about it, bro. I would show up in a suit and tie, and I would be fucking. I would have the best questions. There's no way. Like there would literally be a PR person. I'd be required to wear an earpiece, and there would have to be a PR person in my ear. It's like communicating with us, like don't you dare. But no, I would never be able to get something like that. Never in a million years. There's no just. Do I have a suit and tie? Maybe I do. Maybe I don't. Maybe I would go get one just for the occasion. Asking the real questions. I mean, yeah, there would be a lot of questions worth asking. But to be honest, I wouldn't look forward to an interview like that because you know what you're going to get. You know what I mean? Like there's a reason why Sony like basically doesn't let anybody, the way Sony operates these days, like they just don't let anybody talk. And I get it. Like I think Jim Ryan kind of all right, well, maybe it's not Jim Ryan, but the way Sony used to do things during like the PS4 generation, they just seemed way more open to just letting there be faces and personalities. And I mean, there were still a lot of PR statements and stuff, but it seemed like there was a bit more candidness, you know, that it doesn't exist at all now. Like, I mean, the closest thing we get, to be honest, Hiroki Totoki's the one that we probably learned the most from, which is fucking nuts to think. But that like literally with his when he's answering investor calls, that's like the most candid we ever see Sony, because they kind of have to be. But even then they still, you know, they're still playing it safe. Like for example, the only time we actually heard Sony say anything about Concord, I mean, we got the email from Herman Holst where he was just like, you know, we believed in it, and sometimes it doesn't work out, even if you think it's good, and we messed up. And that's it. And then Hiroki Totoki's asked about it from investors, and he's just like, we need gates, bro. It's a really funny answer, but he was just like, we need more gates. I don't know what to tell you. We didn't know. We didn't know. And I understand there's only so much that can be said, because it's just like there really is no explanation. It's just like, so whoa. that was basically Sony. Sony got asked for the 5th time about Concord, and they basically just screamed. Like, shut up! Damn, Luna, you are getting big. Was that a screaming child? It sure was. Yeah. He's like, stop talking about Concord! Yeah, he's got a set of lungs on him, dude. MEG and his 8 kids. JMR didn't forget. Herman's going to be talking fluff and dodging sharp questions left and right. At some point, Herman's going to start asking me questions. Kyle Say Stuff, thank you for the super chat, buddy. You're saying you are right. Not just this. Ever since E3 died, the live community is gone. Company just doing their digital conferences themselves. No more audience claps or cheers. No more interviews. I do miss it. I do miss it too. Maybe this is why I try not to be overly harsh towards the Game Awards at this point. You know, like from the award perspective, I'm very cynical towards it at this point, but I always kind of reiterate that the Game Awards are basically the new E3 because there's nothing else. I mean, yeah, there's Summer Game Fest, there's Gamescom, but those are like, you know, they are live events and they're okay, but the Game Awards, like, really is, that feels like the last bastion of like a major live once a year event where it's not happening for multiple days. It is one night, but it's when it's just like, it's not, you know, it's a hybrid of like everything at this point where you got the developers, you got the prestige going on in the awards, but you got this like insane show with so many reveals that are meant to get people stoked and hyped and surprises. And so it feels like kind of an amalgamation of it all. And yeah, when you look at Sony, it's not just Sony, but you know, you're right. They do everything digitally now, and Sony's clearly never going back to live events, which is kind of sad to think. And when we look back at like E3 throughout the PS4 generation and even back to the PS3 generation, it's interesting to think. I feel like when you look back at that, you kind of thought like this is going to go on forever, and then it just didn't. It just stopped, and it's like, oh, okay, now it's totally transformed. And I don't know, man. I don't have as big of a problem with the way Sony does things these days as I previously did. Like, I think I've kind of gotten used to it, but I don't know, man. Sony's been in this strange position this entire generation, right? Where think of it this way. There's like different angles to view it from. There's the angle of, or there's different, I guess you could say prongs to it, right? There's the audience, the player, right? The gamer, the core PlayStation fan, or just the more core gamer that's tuned in and paying attention. There's the wider, more casual audience that isn't really paying nearly as much attention, but still kind of is considered a customer, right? You have the shareholders, you have the corporate executives, you have the marketers, you know, you have the gaming press and gaming journalists. And I'm like listing off all these things because if you look at this, if you like look at it holistically and try to like identify like what's going on with each prong here, well, when you look at the gamer, like the core PlayStation fan, if there's something that I can tell you, like almost every PlayStation player can mostly agree with, and I don't think anybody would actively completely disagree, is they're not really, they view the way Sony handled their PR and marketing as better during the PS4 generation. It was just better, right? And that's why I say, like, I think almost every PlayStation fan can agree with that, because even if you get a PlayStation fan that says they enjoyed this generation so far and they enjoyed a lot of the way Sony's presented their games and whatnot and the state of plays and the games and whatnot, and they don't have as much of a problem with it, even I think that person can look back at the PS4 generation and say, I still think that was better. You know, and it's not looking at it through rose-tinted glasses. I think it's genuine. It's because there was way more fanfare. And Sony, you know, they were not acting like they were kind of above that or beyond that. They were they were with it. They were involved with it directly. I think that's a sentiment that has been pretty much universally agreed upon for the entire generation. And as each year goes by, I think that sentiment grows stronger. But the reason why I mentioned things like the corporate executives, the shareholders, the marketers, the reason why I mention this stuff is because, okay, well, the perception from the core PlayStation fan is, well, the way Sony did it previously was better. So therefore, the way they're doing it now is not ideal. So they should change it. They should go back to doing things the way they did it. That's the answer. That's the solution to the problem. But it's like, yeah, but this isn't a problem for Sony. Like, this is a problem for you or me or us. It's not Sony's problem. It's like, well, how could that be? Because, dude, look at Sony's bottom line. Look at PlayStation's bottom line. Are the shareholders happy? Yeah, they're happy. Why are they happy? Because PlayStation's doing great. Why is PlayStation doing great? Because the market is there, supporting, buying. The numbers not going down. Like, they're not. You could maybe make the argument they're not as high as they could be, but they're doing very well. And I guess I'm just trying to say that this generation has revealed that Sony doesn't. I think Sony realized they don't need to do that to succeed. They don't need to create this massive fanfare, put on live shows, have a PlayStation experience, and have have their studios create vertical slices every year to delight fans and get people hyped. They don't need to do that to succeed. And I think that that's kind of the part that's like the bitter pill that I think PlayStation, like really core enthusiastic PlayStation fans have had to basically swallow this generation, is the bitter pill of knowing that, like, yeah, they figured that out, and they're not going to do it now. Like, that's just not how they operate, because, that's the doing that type of fanfare and being that engaged and being on that level, it does come with its own risks, in that if you look back, every executive that was on stage live, every executive that was doing, constantly, there was always these constant interviews where it's like, we're going to sit down with developers and we're going to bring Mark Cerny out and we're going to talk. There's a risk associated with it. It's like, at any moment, somebody's going to say something they shouldn't. Somebody's going to say something that backfires. Somebody's going to say something that now is working to our detriment. And I don't know. Ever since Jim Ryan took over, there was just a complete shift. And I think Jim Ryan was just like, we don't need that shit. I think he was just like, we don't need that shit. We're not doing that shit. We're going to show. And that's the mentality they have now. Show, not don't tell. Sony's previous mentality was show and tell all the time. Maybe too much. We did see that. We did see in like E3 2018, people were a little bit like, well, that was not that good, actually. It was okay. And I think it was like starting to reveal that, yeah, Sony can't bring the heat every E3. They're spread too thin. They certainly can't bring the heat every E3 and then 6 months later bring even more heat in December for PlayStation Experience. And I remember the last PlayStation Experience they did, people didn't like it, dude. They were like, this is weak as hell. This is kind of boring. And I think, the revelation there was that the truth is, at the rate, with the way Sony operates and the way their studios operate and the type of games that they make and the type of experiences that they're creating and the type of experiences they're trying to cater to the PlayStation fan base, it's not possible to do that every year. And so I think the solution, it is logical. It does make sense. The solution is state of plays, more intermittent, reveals and announcements. But I think the price to be paid here is it's more like consistency over spectacle, I would say. That's the way Sony's operating these days. It's consistency over spectacle. And that's why, like, when we talk about, well, is Sony going to do a showcase for the 30th anniversary? And I'm like, no. Like, if you ask me, like, I'm going to say no, because why would they? I feel like they should do something. I do feel like they should do something. But I don't know, man. The idea of, like, we just revealed Ghost of Yote. We're going to be at the Game Awards. We just did a whole 30th anniversary lineup. We just launched Astrobot. Like, what else do we really need to do right now? And the truth is, like, probably not much, actually. You just launched the PS5 Pro. You get what I'm saying? Where it's like, they've done a bunch of shit. But I think the problem is, like, and this is what it all comes down to. This is why I'm saying, like, I think there is one last thing they need to do, truthfully. And it doesn't, I don't think it's have a showcase. I would want that. Yeah, please do a showcase. But I don't think that's necessary. I think really the one thing they still have left to do is, like, you got to show one more big first party game. I think that's necessary, because the biggest problem that Sony's running into is, like, yeah, you got the Pro. I don't know. It delves into the conversation once again of, like, are people being unfair towards Sony? And that's it. That always becomes a heated conversation, because it's like, if you think people are being too unfair to Sony, you're just a Sony pony. If you believe that Sony deserves all the shit they're getting, then you're on the side of the consumer, and that's popular opinion right now. But I feel like, I don't know, man. It depends, I guess, on what angle you're taking, where it's like, I see people, they're like, well, Sony's producing more hardware than games. And it's like, that's not true. And the problem with those statements is, it's just like, does Astrobot mean nothing to you? And the answer, I think, for a lot of these people is yes. The answer is yes. Astrobot doesn't mean anything to me. So why would I praise Sony for Astrobot when I don't care about Astrobot? And I think that's kind of the disconnect. And this is why, like, I don't know, man. You see that people look at PlayStation right now and they're like, I see that. Listen, I've been staying off the internet mostly, but one of the things I have seen more recently there are these conversations. It's a never ending conversation of, like, did Sony have a bad year? Was 2024 a bad year for PlayStation? And people are constantly arguing this, but I am like, I see people, they're like, yes, this is a bad year for PlayStation. And I find that fascinating. Like, I want to inspect that further, because it's like, why do you think that? Like, what is making you think that? And the conclusion I've come to is that basically it's about, what have you, like, that mentality of PlayStation had a bad year it comes from a place of, but what did you do for me this year, Sony? What did you do for me? And that's where things get kind of messy, because, like, I noticed the people who feel like Sony had a pretty good year, or even some people think they had a very good year. The biggest difference between these two individuals, it's very simple, it's that many, or a lot of the games that Sony released exclusively for their console this year, as, like, console exclusives, the people who believe Sony had a good year, they were interested in. The people who are unhappy with Sony and unhappy with this year and view it as a bad year, hardly, like, they view these games as, like, meaningless. Like, they don't mean anything. Like, they suck, or they're not interested. But I think the one argument that I would make to basically kind of say, well, from a more objective standpoint, I don't think you can say from an objective standpoint that Sony had a bad year because of the sheer volume of games that they launched. Like, I think you can say that I don't like most of the games, or maybe all of the games that Sony released. Astrobot's weak, Final Fantasy's weak, Helldivers is weak, Rise of the Ronin's weak, Stellar Blade's weak. Yeah, all these games are weak. But you can't take away the fact that Silent Hill's weak. You can't take away the fact that that's a lot of console exclusives delivered over the course of 12 months. That's a variety of console exclusives. That's a lot of console exclusives. That's a lot of content. And that, to me, is what is the differentiating factor between being able to have a reasonable discussion with people and being able to weed out people that are not worth paying attention to and people who maybe are worth listening to a little bit. Because it's totally fair to say, yeah, Sony had good output this year, but I didn't like any of their games and they didn't reveal enough first party. I think that's like fair. Yeah, that's opinion based, of course. But I think there are a lot of people that feel that way. And that is something Sony should deal with, because it's like, well, you got to make sure you're speaking to as many, these people too, right? As best you can. But there's a difference between seeing that and saying that and just kind of jumping to the conclusion that, nah, Sony had a bad year. And that, that's why I think there's this kind of pressure, and I guess this is where I'm going to wrap up this conversation. There's this kind of pressure where it's like, so Sony, where's your show? Where are your games? And it's kind of a sad thing. I will say this too. It's a bit of a sad thing that, and I don't know how to explain this one away because I don't think there is explaining it away. It's just, it is what it is. It's a sad thing to see that, like, bro, I'm seeing people demanding more, like either demanding a showcase or saying like, Sony, where are your games? Where are your studios? Literally right after, like, not even 2 months ago, we got Ghost of Yotei revealed. It's like they did the thing. You know what I mean? Like, they literally did the thing you were asking them to do, and I get, and that's what I mean. Like, and there's nothing wrong with asking for more. Like, I want more too. Like, I am excited for Ghost of Yotei, but yeah, like, Sony, show me more, please. I'm never gonna say don't show me more. I'm just saying, like, the I guess what I'm trying to convey here is, and I think you understand what I'm saying, the people who are being the most vocal, they're coming from a place of, yeah, no, we don't care about that. Show me the good shit. It's like, bro, that I think that is the good shit. Like, that's one of the good things, bro. It's like, no, it's not. That's what I mean. Like, this is where there's been a shift. And I guess what I'm trying to say here, like, this is all culminating to something, a point that I want to make. Brace yourselves if you're not braced. Because mark my words, whatever Sony does choose to reveal, if Sony is in fact getting ready to reveal a first-party game, let's say it's going to be Naughty Dog. If Naughty Dog is in fact getting ready to reveal their new game at the Game Awards, you better believe that's still not going to be enough. And there's going to be a whole wave of hate about, we hate Neil Druckmann, Naughty Dog sucks now, that game looks terrible. It could be something totally different, totally out of left field from Naughty Dog. But the point I'm trying to get at is there's not going to be universal love anymore for Naughty Dog. Because there is, like, I don't know. It's Sony. Things have just changed, man. Things have just changed. And that, that does, I'm not saying that means you should automatically take the opposite stance and just decide I'm going to love whatever they do. No, like, have an opinion, like, wait till they show you and have an opinion. But I guess I'm just saying, like, there are people who've already determined I'm going to dislike whatever Naughty Dog does next. And I'm going to make that known. And that to me is the shit that I wish would just go away. You know why? Because so what are you really saying here? What you're saying is you're no longer interested in what Naughty Dog does. So why are you here? You're here because you want to hate on it. And that's what I hope starts to dissipate. It probably won't. But that's the weird thing that I've been noticing is that there are people where it's like they've already planted their flag and made it clear, like, yeah, no, I'm done with Naughty Dog. But well, then why are you still here? You see what I'm saying? Like, why are you still going to give your opinion on Naughty Dog then if you're done with them? That's the point. That's the point that I'm trying to get at. You're going to see a lot of people who've already determined they're done with Naughty Dog, but they're going to show up the day of the Naughty Dog game reveal to make it known that I fucking hate this piece of shit. I don't know. Anyway, everything will be polarizing. You're saying, why not, MBG? That's unfair. What do you mean? Well, let me read perfect. Shems, explain what you mean. I'm curious. And Perfect Image, you're saying, remember Sony did ABC News. I think you're saying they acquired them. Like whoever marketed that, I believe Sony needs to market that for the devs to talk and the audience maybe. So you're saying that they need to transfer their marketing teams over. They need to get better marketers. I'm like, if I'm understanding what you're saying correctly, Perfect Image, it sounds like you're saying Sony needs to get better marketers that can basically learn how to, not learn, but who are going to do a better job at, marketing Sony's PlayStation brand. You're saying, why can't I be critical about the direction of the game if it sucks? Oh, no, I'm not saying that, Shems. Like, I guess I should clarify what I mean. I don't think there's anything wrong with somebody who is, they still feel like they have some skin in the game, so to speak, when it comes to a studio or a product or brand or whatever. I don't think there's anything wrong with being critical. I think that's necessary. Like, I do. That's why I don't enjoy arguments that occur where it's just people making it clear that, like, I'm going to love anything they do no matter what, or I'm going to hate any. And that's what I'm trying to say. Like, I'm not interested in hearing the opinion of Naughty Dog fanatics that just literally love anything Naughty Dog does. I'm not interested. Like, that's not like, I already know what you're going to think. You're going to love it. You know what I mean? I'm not, but in the same breath, I'm not interested in haters either. Like, in people who are they've already decided, like, I just don't like Naughty Dog anymore. Of course, these people can be as critical or enthusiastic as they want. I'm not saying it's not their right to be able to. Of course, they could do that. I'm just saying, like, when I see it, like when it's presented to me, in such a manner where it's like, bro, why should I care what you think at all? That's really all I'm trying to get at, where it's like, you've already made it clear, like, you hate this studio and you hate the director of the studio and you hated The Last of Us and whatever, like, you're done. Why, you know what I mean? Like, why would I? But I don't know. That's where maybe we will see the opposite. Listen, man, maybe we will see, like, people who are like, I thought I was done with Naughty Dog, but I'm liking what I'm seeing with their new game. Saying the hate is coming from the usual suspects. Well, I mean, yeah. These things come in waves, They come in waves. Perfect Image, you're saying to my super chat, how the news outlets do Sony before, the way Sony did it before. You're saying he meant, why can't we move on from a game released years ago? We keep talking about it for years now. We can let it die now. Dead like Concord. Yeah, well, I mean, it's a little bit different, I would say, because the difference between The Last of Us 2 and Concord is, like, I think it's easy to move on from Concord because it did actually die. Like, just straight up. It's like, it's done. It's over. And if The Last of Us Part 2 flopped so bad that it shut Naughty Dog down, I think, like, yeah, by this point, everybody would have been moved on because it's like, holy shit. Okay, well, it's over. I mean, people will still be talking about it, of course, but I just think the whole thing is, the whole idea is success. That's the big thing here. And I realize this is I think the crux of the issue. I put issue in parentheses just because I'm not really I don't know how else to describe it. But I think that's kind of touching on the crux of the issue, where it's like, how is it that there could be so much consternation for PlayStation across the internet? The perception is so bad and there's so much hatred and so much anger and frustration, but yet PlayStation still does so well. How is it that a game like The Last of Us Part 2 can get so much hate? There's so much polarization. There are people so passionately against Naughty Dog, passionately against the studio, passionately against Neil Druckmann, and yet the game still sold more than 10 million copies and wins the most awards and is considered a big success. And this is what creates this insane polarization, where it's like the people who are against these things that PlayStation is doing, or like against Naughty Dog or against these different things, when they see that these things are working and they are succeeding, they start to feel like they have to get more aggressive and interfere to try to, well, to be honest, the way the mindset is, we got to show people the truth. Like, let me tell you why The Last of Us 2 actually isn't good. Let me tell you why PlayStation actually isn't good. And I mean, what it basically creates is an us versus them scenario, where it's like, listen, if you think PlayStation is good, if you think The Last of Us Part 2 is good, it's because you're blinded. You're not seeing, like, you don't see the whole truth. I know the whole truth. Let me show it to you. And once I show it to you, you'll then hopefully, if you're not a stupid person, realize why we see it this way. And that's the mentality. That's the mentality behind it. And the irony in that is that mentality is it's not exclusive. And no, Shems, I'm not talking. I'm not saying that's you, bro. I'm not saying that's you. Chill, bro. I'm not calling you out. I wasn't even thinking about you when I'm saying this. Shems is like, no way, bro. How can MBG be saying this about me? No, I'm not talking about you, Shems. I'm saying that there are certain people where this is the type of mentality they have, but the fatal flaw in that mentality is that what they don't realize is they convince themselves, truly, like, it becomes like a pattern, right? You know, humans love patterns. They love routine. They love patterns. All humans love this. It becomes a routine. It becomes a pattern where it's like, if you really dig down deep enough into something, like you dig your heels in deep enough, I don't know, maybe we could call it, to a degree, there's a bit of cognitive dissonance going on, where suddenly you're seeing things that are not like, you're not seeing them for what they really are. Like, let me give you this example. I laughed so fucking hard yesterday and today. I've been limiting the amount of time I'm spending on Twitter, but yesterday briefly I checked the news tab on Twitter, and one of the things that popped up, and it was like blowing up, is there was apparently a new study that revealed, and I was literally laughing. I was like cackling. I wasn't cackling, but I was, in my head I'm like, you can't really, like, wow, I can't believe this. The new study that was actively not published by a lot of mainstream media outlets, by the way, and this is why it was blowing up. The new study basically revealed that certain DEI, like, training and courses that are being implemented by these big companies and these big corporations, the study found that certain DEI training is actually leading to more racism. And the way it's leading to more racism is by people falsely, like, basically saying things are racist when they're not, and believing things are racist when they're not. And I'm like, wow, I am so shocked at this revelation. Who would have guessed Who would have guessed? Yeah, and it was like talking about like certain works about like white fragility and whatnot. And I'm like, okay, like like this is just obviously I'm being facetious here. Nothing about this is shocking. It like this has been evident for literally years now, and this is what people have been trying to point out. That it's like, listen, whatever you're doing over here that you're saying is in the name of DEI, pretty sure it's just making people clash harder. Pretty sure it's having the opposite effect. We need to find a better solution, a more practical, a more common sense solution. Don't you think? Literally the next day, dude, I shit you not. And this is where I laughed. And it goes to show that like people in positions of power, running corporations, they're fucking puppets, bro. Like they don't care. They do not care. They will pretend to care about whatever they need to pretend to care about to get the money. Literally today, this is the day after I saw that study was published and making the rounds. I saw that Walmart announced that they're going to be changing their DEI training in light of this recent news. I'm like, so nobody saw this the whole time. Now suddenly, Trump's going to go into office. Now the the conservatives have fully taken over. Now all the companies are like, well, maybe we should change up how we're doing stuff. Meanwhile, everybody who's been screaming and screeching this for like years, trying to say like, bro, get your heads out of your asses. This isn't working. Totally ignored. Totally. And this is what I'm saying. Like, you're going to see this stuff happen. I know this is like kind of away from the topic we were discussing, but it's not actually that far away from it, where it reveals that, bro, there's so much. It seems like things are just scrambled and all over the place these days when it comes to, I think there are a lot of people who really, I think, are just kind of confused at the mess that they're witnessing these days, where it's like, why are things so ridiculous in the year 2024? Why are they only getting more ridiculous? And I don't know, the whole, I thought that was comical, man. I'm not gonna lie. I really looked at that and I'm like, is this the first, am I getting the first whiff of a major U-turn, of a complete 180? It's just beginning, right? Like, it's just beginning, and trust me, it is. And this is where I try to tell people, you always got to think for yourself, man. You got to use your common sense. You got to hope you got some common sense. You got to use it, because you're now going to see so many companies, they're going to completely disown and pretend like, yeah, no, none of that. That was all bad. That wasn't working. AOC dropping the pronouns in her bio. The dominoes are falling. This is like, here's what's sad about it, dude, is that like, it's, what's being revealed. It's a fucking trend. That like, it's the same fucking shit it's always been. And it's not exclusive to just, the whole woke left liberal. It's not exclusive to one side. It's just, it's always the same shit. There's a new power structure, and with that new power structure, there's a new set of standards, expectations. Let's call it. There's a new set of expectations, and what happens is the people who are the most hungry for, I want to profit from this. I want to gain from this. I want to leverage this. I want to make this work for me, and I want to gain from this. I can use this to my advantage. They go all in. They fucking, you're talking about getting it tattooed on their fucking forehead. That level of going in and buying in, and they get, unfortunately, they have their time in the sun. They have their time of influence. They have their time of power. They get theirs. They likely get rich. But then eventually it all comes crashing down. And the reason it comes crashing down is because it turns out that the expectations have changed. And with that, you better fucking make sure you better make sure you can pivot on that fucking dime, buddy. Because if you went full tilt, you're done. You're done. All that's left to do at that point is faceplant. And yeah, it's nothing new. It's always been this way. And it's not exclusive to one side or any side. It's just it's all around, man. You know? But it does seem to me, you know, because at this point I'm practically ranting. I'm going to be wrapping this up soon. The whole point I'm trying to get at here, like, and this is pertinent to the video game industry, is you're going to see changes. You're going to see a lot of changes. They're not going to happen all at one time. They might happen a little bit quicker than you would expect, though. And depending on your view, you might see these changes as fucking amazing, like thank God, or you might see these changes as not good, maybe steps backwards. Although I'm going to say at this point in time, I don't think most people view it that way. But if I'm taking a more optimistic approach, a more optimistic approach, the video game industry hopefully is going to find some equilibrium. At least I don't know. I hope Sony finds that equilibrium, right? I don't know if I could speak for the entire video game industry, but that extends to all forms of media. But there needs to be an equilibrium because things are not balanced right now. And I think it's just sad, man. Like I just don't like to see. I'm trying to really hone in on the point I'm trying to make here, so I can wrap this up because I feel like I didn't quite get it across concisely enough. The point I'm trying to get at is it's always, and especially right now, it's so disheartening to see that there truly are so many people that are fucking fake. I mean, truly, genuinely fake. In that it was never about the message. It was never driven by a true belief. It was fake. It was all a facade. It was all bullshit. And it was all driven by just pure selfishness. It's not surprising at the end of the day, right? But I just hope that those people who were and who still are, because again, it's not exclusive to any one side. I just hope these people start to fade a lot quicker, man. You know, I hope they start to fade into the background much quicker because we need to see some change. We do. It's past time. Yeah, I know. That's politics for you, right? Well, anyway, make video games fun again. There we go. How about that? Make video games fun again. Now, video games are still fun. Not all of them, but a lot of them still are. So I can't run with that mantra because it would be not true. It's conveying a falsehood. I agree, Shems. Games are fun. Anyway, I apologize for that. I guess there's no need to apologize, but I guess what I mean to say is I didn't mean to necessarily go on that last 15, 20 minute tangent there. But all this is to say, I hope when Naughty Dog's next game is revealed, it's actually fucking looks really good, looks awesome. Everybody's hyped. We're turning to each other. We're high-fiving each other like, this is great, bro. But it's not in some diluted way where it's it's actually not great. We're just convincing ourselves of that. But no, it's genuine. This looks amazing. You know what I'm saying? I hope we could just get to that point, bro. We need to get to that point. Make PlayStation great again. Make Xbox competitive again, damn it. No. This is all Xbox's fault. In conclusion, it's Xbox's fault. This is the Series S's fault. Garrett says PlayStation's always been great. That's just your opinion, man. No, I think PlayStation's been pretty good overall. Not perfect, always room for improvement, certainly. Definitely some things I would like to see change, but pretty good, I've been enjoying it. But guys, I see we are past the 2.5 hour mark, so I think this is going to be a good. Last of Us talk always ends up like this. God damn it! This is why I'm just going to have to end the stream. Let me make sure I didn't hit 100K yet. Hold on. Okay, we're exactly 25 subs away from hitting 100K. So maybe tomorrow. I don't know. We'll see. But guys, that's going to wrap up today's stream. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. I want to ask you as you're heading out to just please take a moment and hit that like button. We're almost at 200 likes. It's been helping. It's all good, Kyle. It's all good. I'll be back here tomorrow. No worries. Before I go, I do want to thank everybody. Anybody who I think Hellbound dropped the memberships today. Thank you, Hellbound. Thank you to everybody who dropped any super chats, to anybody who dropped any direct donations. I appreciate the direct support. I can only do what I do here because of that direct support. So thank you so much. I also want to make sure to give a shout out to Devil Shooter. He does the timestamps for the streams. I really appreciate what you do for the community, Devil Shooter. If you guys see him in the comments, give him some thanks. Show him some love. And yeah, that's going to do it for today's stream. So I did put a video out there earlier. If you didn't check it out, go check it out. Although if you were here for the whole stream, you probably don't have to. But yeah, I hope to be back here tomorrow with another, hopefully another video and another stream. Thank you, Mr. Drake. I appreciate the kind words. So, all right, guys. Enjoy the rest of your day. I will catch you tomorrow, and that does it. So until next time, guys, take care.